and the International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, CIMIT. We will now begin our policy dialogue. At this time, I would like to kindly invite the following guests to the dais. Starting with Dr. Mugdha Mazab, Research Fellow and Acting Country Representative of IFPRI Bangladesh, Dr. Timothy J. Krupnik, CGIR Country Convener and CIMIT Representative for Bangladesh, Dr. Mehrab Bokhtiar, Research Fellow IFPRI, Dr. Ben Belton, Research Fellow IFPRI, Dr. Mohammad Abdus Salam, Executive Chairman, Bangladesh Agricultural Research Council. Our special guest for today, Dr. Mohammad Mahmudur Rahman, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, and our chief guest, Dr. Mohammad Emdadullah Mia, Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Government of Bangladesh. Thank you very much. Now, I am pleased to invite Dr. Mohammad Abdus Salam, Executive Chairman, BARC, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you. Agriculture Mechanization Policy Dialogue, Research Evidence and Stakeholder Perspective. Our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Mohammad Emdadullah Mia, Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture. Respected Special Guest, Dr. Mohammad Mahmudur Rahman, Additional Secretary, PPC, Ministry of Agriculture. Dr. Tim, CGIR Country Convener and CIMIT Country Representative, Bangladesh. Dr. Mugdha Mazab, Acting Country Representative and Research Fellow, International Food Policy Research Institute. Distinguished Director General from different Nurse Institute, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, very good morning. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this important agricultural mechanization policy dialogue, research evidence and stakeholder perspectives, jointly organized by IFPRI and CIMIT, with the support from CGIRI and Gates Foundation. Today we are here to discuss critical new research on agricultural mechanization in Bangladesh, published by IFPRI and CIMIT in the report Agricultural Mechanization Policy in Bangladesh and assessment of the phase 3 support program and recommendations for reform. I am thankful to the organizer to giving me the opportunity to say something in this occasion. Bangladesh has come a long way from being a rice deficit country dependent on food aid to become self-sufficient through the tireless efforts of our farmers, researchers, extension workers, academia, and effective policy implementation. Agriculture is the key driver growth of Bangladesh economy, the foundation of livelihoods for millions. But as our economy evolves, so do the challenges. Labor is becoming more scarce and more costly, especially in peak season. In this context, agricultural mechanization is necessity. Today, we are here to reflect on the findings from landmark policy research conducted by IFPRI and CIMIT. The study responds to a high-level request from the Ministry of Agriculture to assess not only the adoption of the machinery, but the real impacts and governance of mechanization support programs. In brief, I understand that the study has found geographic imbalances in machine allocation, suggesting some high-need regions may remain underserved. There are challenges related to subsidy, targeting cost effectiveness and equity issues. After sales service, training and spare parts availability remain serious constraints. Financial barriers remain with many machinery service providers continuing to rely on informal credit sources. Finally, the study highlights the need of more geographically tailored subsidy support strategies rather than one-size-fits-all approach. As you know, BRC play a central role in research coordination and in drafting national agriculture policy. The evidence generated here gives us a concept base to advocate for smarter subsidy design, better allocation, and more robust support system. I am glad to see the IFPRI, CIMIT, and CGIR have partnered to make this timely research available. As an institution, BRC can help scale lessons learned from this research into national programs and channel innovations into our extension systems. In closing, I want to express my gratitude once again to our honored guests, to IFPRI and CIMIT for their partnership, and to all of you for being here. The journey towards sustainable, equitable, and effective mechanization in Bangladesh is a shared one, and today's dialogue is an important step. I believe from this dialogue, we will come up with some recommendation which will be help us for smart mechanization, integrating AI, IoT, and robotic machine vision, etc. Let us work together, informed by strong evidence, to ensure that mechanization helps our farmers prosperous, strengthens our research extension system, and ultimately supports Bangladesh agricultural transformation. Finally, I would like to conclude my remark with the famous quote of Bhupendra Sagar, highlights mechanization role in food production. Quote, every farm machine is a spawn that feeds the world's hunger. Thank you everybody for patient hearing me. Again, welcome all of you to today's dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Salam, for the thought-provoking speech. Now I am pleased to invite Dr. Mehrab Buktiar, Research Fellow, IFPRI, to deliver his opening remarks.
Dr. Muhammad Emdadullah Mia, Secretary, Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Muhammad Mahmudur Rahman, Additional Secretary, Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Muhammad Abdul Salam, Executive Chairman, BARC, Dr. Tim Krupnik, CGR Country Convener and Summit Representative for Bangladesh, all the leadership from the Nurse Institutes, colleagues from IFPRI, Summit, and CGIR, and representatives from different parts of the Bangladesh government, ministries and line agencies, representatives from the media, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mera Bakhtiar from IFPRI. Over the next 15 minutes or so, I'll provide an overview of our assessment of Bangladesh's Phase 3 Agricultural Mechanization Support Program. My presentation will set the stage for more detailed discussions by my IFPRI colleagues, Dr. Mugdha Mahzab and Dr. Ben Belton, who will follow. This research was conducted in collaboration with colleagues from IFPRI and CIMMYT, and I want to acknowledge their contributions: Dr. Akhtar Ahmed, Dr. Mugdha Mahzab, Aminul Karim, Raisa Sharma, Dr. Ben Belton, Dr. Ruhul Amin Talukdar, Razin Kabir, Dr. Srijit Aravind Dakshan, Dr. Tim Kropnik, who is here, and overall IFPRI and CIMMYT teams. I want to extend special thanks to the Technical Advisory Committee. So this was an interministerial, interagency advisory committee that was hosted by the Minister of Agriculture, and it was chaired by Dr. Mahmudur Rahman, who is here. And the TAC provided invaluable comments and guidance throughout this research, ensuring that our analysis was grounded in policy relevance and institutional realities. This was truly a collaborative project, and the quality of our work reflects that engagement. I also want to thank CGIR's PIA, as well as field staff from IFPRI and CIMMYT. Let me outline what this session will cover. I'll begin with an overview of the Phase 3 Agricultural Mechanization Support Program and its reach and adoption trends. I'll then briefly discuss some governance challenges that we have identified. Finally, I'll present our recommendations for reform. Following my presentation, Dr. Mugdha will go into greater depth on the productivity as well as labor market impacts. After that, Dr. Ben Belton will discuss service provider business viability, including profitability, break-even timelines, and service delivery models. In the next session, our esteemed colleague, Mr. Owen Calvert from CIMMYT, will synthesize feedback from key stakeholders, and we'll have a lively discussion session, hopefully. Okay, so our analysis draws on multiple data sources. We have analyzed DAE's administrative records covering more than 50,000 machine allocations. We have surveyed nearly 1,000 machine service providers across 10 districts, including 400 combined harvester MSPs, which will be the main focus of our presentation today. We tracked over 2,000 rice farming households over time using the Bangladesh Integrated Household Survey, which had rounds in 2011, 12, 15, 18, 19. The latest round was in 2024. And we conducted 128 in-depth interviews with stakeholders. So this mixed method approach allows us to triangulate findings and hopefully build a comprehensive picture of agricultural mechanization in Bangladesh. So to give you an overview of the mechanization landscape in Bangladesh, we all know that Bangladesh has been undergoing an agricultural transformation where essentially agriculture labor force participation has been decreasing from around half the population in 2005 to around 37% in recent years. That's almost a 1 percentage point decline every year in the last 1.5 decades. This has been accompanied by increased agricultural wages, which have doubled between 2010 and 2022. This is a well-trodden path for a lot of countries that have developed over time. So nothing unique in this case, I would say. Land preparation, irrigation, and spraying and threshing already was highly mechanized by 2018. Why 2018? So consider that the baseline year before the current phase of the subsidy program, of the support program started. So 2018 and 2018-19, and then the support program, the Phase 3 support program started in 2020. So as you can see, land preparation, irrigation, all of these are at very high numbers in the 80s or in the 90s. Okay, so this is the baseline for planting and harvesting. On the right side, you can see harvesting. So you can see that less than 1% of rice farmers in Bangladesh actually was using mechanized harvesting. So that's something to remember, okay? This was before this investment happened, right? So to give a overview of the support of the government support program on agricultural mechanization. So Bangladesh has had an agricultural mechanization friendly policies since the late 80s. This includes liberalization of machine imports, elimination of standardization requirements, etc. In recent decades, the government has supported the purchase of subsidized machineries. There have been 3 distinct phases. In the first phase, a 30% subsidy was offered for a variety of machines. In the latest phase, the rate was between 50 and 70%. And this included a variety of machineries, as you can see in the table, power thresher reapers to combine harvesters. So this gives a summary of the overall scope of the phase 3 support program, right? So between 2020 and mid-2023, so that's the latest data that we have. This is the administrative data from DAE. You can see that the government distributed over 33,000 subsidized machines, including nearly 9,000 combined harvesters. Just remember that after this data, another 1 year of support continued, so the actual total amount of subsidized machineries is higher, but just keep that caveat in mind. The total subsidy value was around 1,600 crore taka, which is roughly 163 million US dollars. Combined harvesters alone accounted for 84% of the total subsidy value, which is nearly half of the total phase 3 budget. So that is the reason we are going to focus primarily on combined harvesters, because that was the bulk of the value of the subsidy. That makes sense. Okay, so this is just a simple distribution data of the machineries. You can see that the Howrah and the coastal regions received a 70% subsidy, and they also received higher number of machineries. So the darker it is, the higher is the number of machineries that were distributed, right? Coastal districts such as Barguna, Patuakhali, and Bhola also received more machineries, and the Howrah region, as I've mentioned, Netrokona, Sunamganj, Kishoreganj, etc. I think one stark part that you can see on the northwest side, right? So for example, Rajshahi, Rangpur, these are high cropping intensity areas, but you can see that the amount of machineries that were distributed were actually less. On average, a district received 43 machines of all types, and often these machines have been allocated based on local demand, so people would come, they would fill in an application form, and this would be centrally collected, that information, and from there, an allocation decision would be taken from the DAE. Okay, so this is a simple descriptive analysis of the rapid growth in the mechanization of harvesting. So you can see that harvesting mechanization has seen a rapid growth. So if you see if you see all the years, 2011, 2015, 2018, right? Mechanized harvesting was quite low, less than 1%, right? In 2023, like almost 3 or 4 years after the support program started, this jumps up to around 19%. So essentially 19% of all boro cultivating households, they used mechanized harvesting services in at least one plot of their land. So a 20%, almost a 20 percentage point increase in the use of mechanized harvesting. So I think I'll just cover some governance and institutional challenges issues. So there seems to be an evaluation gap for those who apply. So there's no clear criteria for applicant evaluation. The digital application forms were not used. There were, I think, discussions around using a digital platform that was not used. And that means we don't know the people who did not apply, who were not selected. So that is, I think, an important monitoring issue. There should be ways to monitor who applied, who didn't apply, so I think that is something we should We should remember there are instances of profile manipulation of applicants. In some instances, farmers from lower subsidy areas exploited higher subsidy zones. And Upazila DAE offices often struggle to evaluate applicants. I'll give you some specific numbers now, what that really means. So what we find in terms of overall governance is that when we attempted to verify 552 combine harvesters recorded in the DAE's allocation records in our study area, it was in 21 Upazilas, we found that 28% of those machineries could not be located, so they were not there, okay? So the listed recipients could not produce any ownership evidence, and we couldn't see the machines there, okay? This could be one of two reasons. It's possible that the machines were just taken somewhere else, right? So you apply from one particular area, and the machine is taken somewhere else. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's based on demand, et cetera. But the other possibility is that maybe some of these machineries don't exist, ghost machines, right? I'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. So essentially what we found was, through snowball sampling, we discovered that around 14% of our sample, they were absent from the DA's list, but we found that they actually were there, right? We've also found that 27% of machineries were registered under someone other than the actual owner, often relatives or associates. We also found that 14% of surveyed applicants reported paying unofficial fees to secure or expedite their allocation, averaging almost 60,000 taka. These findings point to potential systemic weaknesses in program oversight that could possibly be addressed in a potential next phase. We also conducted a comparison between DAE data and the National Board of Revenue import data. So for several companies, what we found was the number of combine harvesters recorded as allocated by DAE exceeded the number of actually imported according to customs data, right? So it can never be the case that you are distributing more machineries than you imported, right? That doesn't make any sense. So this discrepancy is troubling and suggests that there may have been instances of the ghost machines that I was alluding to in the last slide. We also found instances of importer markups. My colleague, Dr. Belton, will talk about it a bit more in his presentation. Let me now turn to our recommendations. So these are all detailed in our report. So in the policy brief that you received in your folder, you'll see a link of the report. Very detailed, so please take a look at that, particularly the executive summary if you can. So first, on import barriers, removing current tariffs could actually decrease combine harvester prices significantly, because currently the import tariff is around 27%. So I think that is potentially a more cost-effective alternative to direct subsidies, while eliminating many of the administrative burdens and governance risks we have documented, right? So on one hand, there is a significant import tariff. On the other hand, you're subsidizing. These are in different directions, right? And as we know, implementing a subsidy program is always challenging. So why not just, if you want to reduce the cost, remove the tariff? I think that is a one way of just an interministerial kind of decision that could be potentially made. A spare parts tariff, currently ranging from 26 to 37%, should also be reduced. I should note that in the latest budget, there has been some provisions to this. Supporting local manufacturing through low-cost financing for capital machinery is another avenue worth exploring. On allocation reform, we present two options for consideration. Option one is market-driven, so phase out geographic targeting entirely, let market forces direct machines to areas of highest demand, and support climate-vulnerable regions like our areas through concessional credit rather than equipment subsidies. Option two retains the idea of a centralized allocation, but implements evidence-based targeting. We developed a LASSO PCA framework that combines multiple indicators, such as labor availability, cropping intensity, climate vulnerability, infrastructure quality, to identify priority districts. I want to emphasize that this framework is meant to inform policymaker decisions, not replace them. So this could be an additional tool, right? A database tool which can actually tell you, okay, these are the areas that has high wage rates. So use all these different indicators to come up with a composite indicator of machinery demand. So this is what I was talking about. So you can see that this is the exercise that we carried out, where we can prioritize districts, essentially have a ranking of districts which needs more machines than other districts. These are based on existing data. So again, this is a complementary tool to help make policymaker decision. Continuing with the recommendations, we suggest that standardizing subsidy rates, the current differential, 70% in our region and 50% elsewhere, has created incentives for cross-district movement of these machineries. So it's an inefficiency that's not needed, right? And recall that the verification findings I mentioned earlier, where we couldn't actually find 28% of the machineries that were supposed to be there, right? So clearly a lot of cross-district movement is happening. So maybe not just have this specific differential rates, really. And you also would recall that 27% of the machineries were registered under someone else's name. So this all, a uniform base rate, potentially with a transparent, need-based top-ups for climate vulnerable areas, could reduce these distortions while directing support where it is most needed. On after-sales infrastructure, importers could be required to establish a district-level service center, maintain 90-day spare parts inventories, and provide Bangla language manuals as conditions for import approval. On finance, we need to remove policy barriers that currently prevent asset-based financing. Current ownership restrictions for subsidized machines prevent combine harvesters from being used as a loan collateral, which excludes many potential MSPs from formal credit. Enabling higher purchase schemes, seasonal credit lines aligned with harvest cycles, MSP working capital facilities would expand access. Okay, let me just quickly discuss access to finance, which is a major constraint. Our survey finds that 50% of combine harvester MSPs depend on informal sources of financing, moneylenders, relatives, acquaintances, and often pay rates of interest that are 22% or so. Only 6% of combine harvester MSPs received loans from banks for machine-related purposes. Okay. So this is a very low number. We're not talking about smallholder farmers. We're talking about established businesses who have assets, and these folks should not be receiving at such low numbers in terms of financing. And this is viable businesses. Banks can actually make, make good money out of it. So we have to understand what's really happening, right? What's the reason behind this low access to finance, and what policies could be implemented, what policy barriers could be removed. From our qualitative interviews, we've found that the 3-year ownership contract between the government and the subsidy beneficiaries discourages banks from financing large machineries. I think this has been discussed in detail in many, many forums, so hopefully that is something that can be considered very strongly. We have also found that despite a lot of policies guiding banks not to require extensive documentation, at the end of the day, often people who apply for loans, they have to show proof of assets, collateral, guarantors, etc., and that actually often also inhibit getting loans from many of the service providers. Machine usage is highly seasonal. Farmers and MSPs generate income, many during the borrow harvest season, which makes some banks and financial institutions reluctant. Okay. So to summarize, I think the program has achieved substantial reach with real productivity gains and viable MSP businesses. This will be discussed in detail by my colleagues, but governance challenges are real in terms of machines that are either moved from to different places or ghost allocations, subsidy capture, etc. Those undermine effectiveness. Our message is that in the next potential phase, there needs to be, it needs to address these issues. Potentially reducing import tariff, strengthen oversight through digitization, and NBR DEE data reconciliation. um, remove barriers to asset-based financing, and mandate after-sales infrastructure. I want to emphasize the importance of interministerial research partnerships like this one. So bringing together the Ministry of Agriculture, DAE, and researchers from IFPRI and CEMIT. So the technical advisory committee that was led by Dr. Mahmoud Rahman, it enabled independent analysis, but with strong partnerships. So this collaborative model is essentially for evidence-based reform. I'm grateful to the TAG, CGRs, PIA, our field teams, and all stakeholders who made this work possible. With these reforms and continued collaboration, mechanization can contribute meaningfully to more productive, resilient, and equitable food systems in Bangladesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bokhtiar, for setting the stage for today. I would now like to invite Dr. Mugdham Azab, Research Fellow and Acting Country Representative IFPRI, Bangladesh, to give his presentation on Mechanization Policy Support Program impacts.
Thank you so much, dear chief guest, Dr. Emadullah Mia, dear special guest, Dr. Mahmudur Rahman from Ministry of Agriculture, our dear executive chairman, Park, Dr. Salam, everyone on the podium, my colleagues from IFPRI and CEMIT, everyone joining here in the room and also online, a very well welcome and assalamu alaikum. So thank you so much, Mehrab, for setting up the stage. So, I mean, the main difference between my presentation and Mehrab's presentation is that Mehrab has covered the main major points. He has shed lights on the recommendation. And for me, my job is to give you the impact analysis that we have done of agricultural mechanization. So it might be a bit more technical, but I'll try to be somewhere in the middle to make sure that our message that we have received from this analysis is clearly going to you. And if there is some issues that we are not able to clarify right at this moment, I'm very happy to talk more on this particular aspect of our research. So just to begin, agricultural mechanization, I mean, if you see the recent history and see in the developing countries rather than the developed countries, it's not like, you know, a straightforward answer that agricultural mechanization will give you always positive results. So some of the recent research, I'm not referring the paper names over here, but the summary I would like to share with you. For example, in China, it was found that agricultural productivity has increased due to mechanization. And they have also found that labor relocation from farm to non-farm activities have increased. In India, a few research have shown that off-farm economic activities have increased due to mechanization. And also they have found that migration, especially from agri to non-agri sector, have increased. In Myanmar, our own colleague Ben Belton's research have found that there is no direct impact on yield and profitability, but overall the production time has been saved. In Nepal, we also have found that power tiller, in terms of overall mechanization, did not have any impact on profitability and yield. So the main thing is that it's not always straightforward that mechanization will have similar impact in a developing country, right? So it depends on the context, it depends on how you are applying the mechanization and all the issues that Mehrab has talked about that is needed to have positive impact. So with this backdrop, I will start what we have done so far to analyze the impact of mechanization in Bangladesh. So I will skip some, me and Mehrab have some common slides, so I'll skip over the one that he has shed lights on already. But some of them are so important that it's like it doesn't, it actually helps a lot to reiterate on these points. So as you can see, tillage irrigation pesticide sprayer and threshing, these are all mechanized if you see the 2018 data, right? 98%, 87%. So these have been mechanized well, like if we see the 2018 data. But the main problem, again, in the first presentation, we have seen that harvesting and planting is very non-mechanized till 2018. And this is the reason why you can see if you just focus on weeding, harvesting, and threshing, so this is showing the labor intensity in all of these activities, right? So still, like in 2018, we're observing that we need a lot of labor in harvesting, weeding, and threshing. Then again, similar slide. So thankfully for this enormous program by the government, we can see at least 20% of farmers or the plots are being mechanized for harvesting. So this is a huge jump if you think about less than 1% to 20% in 4 years. So using this program, again, some of the major points of the program, that this program aimed to target around 52,000 farm machines. So it's 1,600 crore budget, huge program. And as Mehrab again has said that 85% of the total budget was spent on combine harvesters. So today's presentation, the impact analysis will be based on combine harvesters. We have results on other machines as well, but our focus today is on combine harvesters. And as you know, the subsidy program was concentrated on Howrah and coastal areas, 70% incentive, and then the non-Howrah coastal area, it's 50% incentive. Altogether, 9,000 combine harvesters were distributed between 2000 and 2024. And this paper basically is trying to analyze the impact of this combine harvester distribution in Bangladesh. So this is the true data. So this is what we received from, this is our administrative data about the combine harvester allocation. So this is going to be very important to understand how we are analyzing the impact. So as you can see, there is a special distribution. So some of the areas, clearly the Howrah and coastal areas, the darker areas have received more combine harvesters, and the lighter areas have received less combine harvester. However, it is important to note that many of these districts did receive combine harvesters. So using this variation, we'll try to find the impact of combine harvester. Briefly about BIHS, so we need some data to measure the outcome, right? As many of know, Bangladesh Integrated Household Survey, it is one of the top panel data in the world because you rarely find panel data in developing country. There are more than 100 PhD papers being written in the US and Europe using BIHS. So it's a highly reliable and very efficient data that we are using. It's a IFPRI flagship data that we are using to measure the outcome. All right, so again, reiterating the fact that there is distributional differences in terms of combine harvester at the upazila level. So this graph is showing you on the x-axis the number of combine harvester and the percent on the y-axis in terms of upazilas. So as you can see, there are few upazilas that have received higher number of combine harvesters, and there is set of upazilas which have received less number of combine harvesters. So over here, what we are doing, so the method that I'm describing is called difference in differences. So it's almost a gold standard right now to use difference in differences in impact evaluation when you have a natural experiment setting. So this setting that we say is natural experiment. So over here, we try to find a cutoff where the upazilas have received higher combine harvesters. So we pick this distribution 75th percentile. So if a upazila is higher than in the 75th percentile, we call them treated. And if not, then the other upazilas, we call them control. And now we compare these treated and control upazilas to measure the impact. One question naturally comes, right? Why 75th percentile? Why you are choosing it arbitrary? I understand, that's a valid question. So to address that question, I will show you that even if we change the threshold of treatment assignment, the results remain very similar. So what's the theory of change? Why shall we expect at social scientists to say that mechanization might have positive impact in Bangladesh. So there are 3 channels that we have found out. One is, of course, increase of production that we can expect by improving yield efficiency by providing timely harvest and reduce post-harvest loss, which is very important when you compare manual harvesting and mechanized harvesting. Decrease labor dependencies, so basically substituting labor and save time for harvesting, threshing, and winnowing. Third is reduce cost of production. Overall, harvesting, threshing, and winnowing can be done at the same time, which helps reduce overall production cost. So these are the channels we could theoretically think that it might have a positive impact on farm income and other outcomes. But again, this is a theoretical point, right? So empirically, it has to be tested. Again, briefly, just so this is the canonical difference in differences model that I just explained. So over here, again, so we are comparing treated upozilas and controlled upozilas, and before and after the intervention. Remember, the program started in 2019, and let's say it ended in 2023, so 23-24. So we have baseline data of BIHS from 2018, and we have our inline data, if I may say, from 2024 BIHS PIA survey. So we are going to compare pre and post intervention with treated and control upozila. So basically you bring these 2 dimensions together to have a difference in difference, and as economists say that this will give you the causal estimate. So this is not providing the correlation between your intervention and the outcome, rather it is showing the causation that this intervention is having on a number of outcomes. Quickly, so one of the main assumptions or one of the main things that we need to show whenever we are doing difference in differences, that this treated and control upozila's household outcome were not statistically different. So if you just see, for example, I think I will go with the second one, for example, from the top. So the labor cost. So 2018 is mechanically 0. However, before, if you see in BIHS 2015 and 2011 data, there was no statistical difference between labor cost in treated and control upozilas. Now, jump forward to 2023, you can see there is a statistically difference negative number, a bit higher confidence interval, but it's still statistically significant. So what is it showing is that labor cost has decreased for household in the treated upozilas compared to control upozilas. And most of the even study plots are showing similar results. Now moving from plot to numbers, so what we are observing, right? So given the difference in difference study, the first column is showing that total amount of paddy production that was recovered with mechanized harvesting in the treated upozilas have increased by 6 to 13 percentage points, depending on what specification you use, and it is statistically significant, right? Similarly, as I have explained, the labor cost has decreased, and because the labor cost has decreased, the total production cost also has decreased significantly. And then we try to understand, okay, if the cost has decreased, can we have a benefit cost comparison? So we have total value of production on the numerator, we have total cost on the denominator, and we can see the 0.96 number is showing that when the control household had the cost benefit ratio of 3.66, the treated upozilas in households have 100% more benefit in terms of the ratio. So clearly, we can see there is positive impact of mechanized harvesting. Then we try to understand, okay, now we know that farm total paddy production and labor cost is decreasing. What about the crop use? We see no impact on area covered, so total area remained almost same. Consumption didn't change. However, sale of total product has increased. And there are other issues that the farmers use. For example, keeping the seed for next year cultivation, labor wages, machine renting, landowners as rent. So in terms of the production, that has decreased for households who received mechanized harvesting. Then we went further to understand, okay, what about the number of products they're producing, right? So first, we don't see any statistical impact on cropping intensity, though it's positive, but it's statistically insignificant. Then we came up with this Simpson Crop Diversification Index. So it takes care of the total gross cropped area and also the total number of crops you are producing within a year. And we see there is a positive impact over there. Modest, but positive impact over there. Then we try to divide it among cereal, vegetables, spices, and we see the impact is coming from fiber production. So these are basically jute, cotton, bamboo, and what we call thonche production have increased under this fiber category. And then now we try to understand, okay, if the crops have increased in terms of SDI, whether there is an impact on sales. So this income is completely dependent on total sales of a farmer. So over here, we also see that there is a substantial increase in sales. But as you know, income measure in any survey is very complicated because people do not want to reveal the income very efficiently, but still we are seeing that there is some kind of impact coming in terms of sales. And this is, again, is dependent on fiber and other crops that being increased in terms of sales when we compare to treated farmers versus control farmers. Now coming back to that point, right, the question about why you are taking the cutoff of 75th percentile as treated. Okay, then we changed. So these graphs, I will explain one, then you'll understand the others. If you see the first one, the total paddy yields is kg per hectare. Over here, we changed the 75th percentile, and then we said, okay, let's start from 50th percentile of the distribution and change the treatment assignment. So if we change the treatment assignment from 50, 55th to 99th percentile, you can see a linear kind of trend. So basically what it is suggesting, treatment intensity matters. How many combine harvester at least went to an upozila, that actually dictates the amount of impact that you are having on paddy yield, reduction in labor cost, reduction in overall production cost, and benefit cost ratio. So this is one kind of robustness check that we need to do whenever we are showing causal estimates of difference in differences. All right, quickly then we try to understand, so this is another layer of dimension we add to the difference in difference. What we say, okay, let's concentrate on the Haur and coastal areas only. And also let's concentrate on the upozilas, which were early adopter versus late adopter. So this is the regression specification for that. And I'll just give you the main results over here, that we're seeing that in Haur and coastal area, the impact is slightly higher than the overall impact in Bangladesh. So 13% higher output is being observed in Haur and coastal areas. And which is expected, by the way, because you know that 70% of the incentive were sent to these areas. Significant reduction in labor and overall production cost in these areas. Benefit cost ratio is slightly higher than the national average. However, we didn't find any significant impact comparing early adopters versus late adopters. So basically, early adoption didn't give them any age. It's more about the intensity and the overtime, whether those upozilas keep having combined harvesters or not, that dictated the impact. Then in the last, thanks to Dr. Mahmood, I remember, because in our last TAC meeting, he suggested us that why doesn't IFPRI try to look into some impact in the labor and employment allocation. And then me and Mehrab and we have been thinking about it. So BIHS, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot like effective module in terms of understanding labor and employment impact. So what we did, we went to household income expenditure survey. Over here, we used this data in 2010, 16, and 2022. Luckily for us, we have a pre-intervention data 2016 and post-intervention data 2022. So now we try to compare using the same strategy specification of difference in differences. We try to understand whether there is any impact on labor allocation and employment mobility or not. These are very preliminary finding, and so I will tell you to take this with some grain of salt, but this is showing some indication that I would like to present. So this is the same event study. Let's talk about the number over here. So if you see panel B and panel C, basically panel B is showing, I will start with panel B, agricultural employment is having two different kind of impact. Number one, there is increase of self-employment in agriculture. However, there is a decrease in wage employment in agriculture. We see no impact in off-farm employment. Few other countries have seen impact on off-farm employment. However, we are not observing any impact on off-farm employment. What we are observing again is that wage laborers employment is decreasing. However, the self-employment in agriculture is increasing. And depending on the specification we use, there is a modest, very modest increase of overall employment to zero increase. Then we try to understand, okay, that was the employment probability. What about the total numbers? So these are, then we try to understand in terms of month, days, total hours in month and year, and also on wage. First of all, we don't see any impact on nominal wage. There is no impact on change on wages. However, what we see over here is that the total number of months been decreased when we talk about labor employment, in terms of months, in terms of days. And this is true for, and mainly driven by labor employment of male. We don't see any impact on female, but we are seeing labor employment for male is decreasing in agriculture. So this is what we call the intensive margin. Similarly, we try to understand, okay, then what's happening for self-employment? Almost reverse scenario. Over here, we are seeing that self-employment is increasing in terms of slightly increasing. So this is, I'll give you, so overall like 10 months is the control mean, and we see 0.3 months being increased in self-employment. And more interestingly, this is something we are a bit kind of trying to understand the channel. This increase is driven by female employment. We don't see much of the male employment over here, but the female employment over here in terms of months and days are increasing. So we're trying to understand what's going on over here. So this is basically just summarizing this, summarizing the labor impact results. So probability of being wage labor in agriculture has decreased by around 3.3 percentage point. Probability of self-employed in agriculture has increased by 4.2 percentage point. Wage labor time allocation, we can see that there is a decrease, but there is a reversal in self-employment. We haven't found any significant impact on agricultural wage, and no change in off-farm employment. And we have find some very interesting results in migration, because it is showing that migration in terms of foreign migration has increased by 4.6 percentage points. I think I have only one slide, so yeah, I'll just summarizing the main points over here for everyone, just better understanding of what we have mainly found over here. So clear, like positive impact in terms of paddy productivity, reduction in labor cost, reduction in production cost. And then overall, when we talk about farm commercialization, so there is around 7 percentage point increase in marketed surplus for all the households who have received agricultural mechanization in terms of combine harvester. Modest but significant gain in crop diversification we have observed. And then again, on the labor side, we are observing that agricultural labor has decreased, however, self-employment has increased, and there is a statistical impact in migration of these households happening in terms of foreign migration. With that, I would like to thank you all, and I'm happy to receive any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mahaza, for your thought-provoking presentation. Now it is my pleasure to request Dr. Ben Belton, Research Fellow IFPRI, to give a presentation on survey evidence on mechanization service economics.
full screen?
Yeah, sure. This one.
Great. Yeah.
There's slide changer. You can change. This
Okay.
one is for forwarding.
Okay, thanks. Okay, good morning, honorable guests, participants. Thank you for coming today. I'm going to be presenting today some results from surveys of agricultural mechanization service providers in Bangladesh. So we've seen a little bit of this already, but I'm just going to recap. So from 2019 through to mid-2024, the government of Bangladesh launched the phase 3 of its agricultural mechanization support project. Under that project, there were around 50,000 farm machines delivered under subsidies nationwide. Of those, 9,000 were combine harvesters, and those combine harvesters accounted for 84% of the total machinery allocation budget. So this is going to be the main focus of this presentation. And as we've already heard, there was geographical targeting. So the Hawa region and coastal areas got a 70% subsidy for combines. The rest of the country got a 50% subsidy. And you can see that reflected in the map here, where most of the combines were distributed, particularly in the Hawa areas. So we set up a study to understand how the program had been implemented, but also the characteristics of machinery service provision businesses. And the map here is showing the districts in green being the ones that we selected. So these were purposefully selected, 10 districts, and 2 upazillas in each of those 10 districts. We chose them to cover a range of geographical areas and agroecological zones. So the Hawas, the coast, some intensive rice-growing regions in the north and center of the country, and maize and wheat-growing areas in the northwest and center. We surveyed a total of 1,126 mechanization service providers, of which 400 were combine harvest service providers. So our sampling strategy was that we contacted all of the DAE sub-assistant agricultural officers in each of those selected upazila. We then obtained from them a full list of the machines that had been distributed under the subsidy program in the unions that we selected. We then randomly drew a sample of survey respondents from those lists, and we went and tried to identify all of those people who'd received the subsidy and interview them. In some cases, we prioritized certain types of machine for data collection. So, for instance, maize shellers, power tiller operated seeders, because there were fewer of those. And then for combine harvesters especially, we conducted a full census in all of the upazillas using the DAE list, but then additional snowball sampling to try and pick up any other combines that were there. And so that gave us a total sample size of 400 combine harvester MSPs. So moving on to the survey results, we asked initially about the application procedure to receive subsidies, and as Merab has already mentioned, we had 552 combine harvesters listed as being distributed by the DAE in our surveyed upazillas, but when we went house to house and asked about those machines, in 28% of cases we couldn't locate the machine. So the recipients were not able to provide any evidence of the existence of the machine. So implying that maybe the machine had been sold, or maybe their name had been used, or perhaps that the machine maybe never even existed in the first place. But additionally, we found 57 combine harvesters through our snowball sampling that were not on the DAE list. So that implies that they were either purchased secondhand, or they were purchased elsewhere in the country and registered in a different place and then brought to these upazillas by their owners. So we found that on average the combine harvester MSPs had 1.3 combines each. So In theory, only one person is supposed to get there's supposed to be one subsidized combine harvester allocated per applicant. So some people were able to get additional machines through registering machines with their family or relatives, and sort of that accounts for some people having more than one machine. If we look at the characteristics of the service providers, 100% of the people owning combine harvesters were providing services to others. As you might expect, most of those owners are large farmers, so the average farm size for combine owners, 7.5 acres. And 2/3 of the combine owners also owned other farm machinery. So it seems like these were typically large farmers. They were already mechanization service providers, and then they were buying in the combine harvesters to sort of diversify their businesses. And overall MSPs averaging 2.4 machines of different types each. If we look at the average sales price of combine harvesters without the subsidy, it's quite expensive, 32 lakh taka. And 97% of the combine harvesters, virtually all of them were purchased with a subsidy. The remaining 3% got them secondhand. And you can see that the majority of the subsidy was at the 70% level. So that means that most of the combines that were being purchased in the Hawa area and to a lesser extent in the coastal zone. And so including the subsidy, then people who got the 70% subsidy were only paying 12 lakh for their machines on average. People who got the 50% subsidy were paying 16 lakh taka for their machines on average. So we asked in detail about MSP's use of finance from different sources to pay for their machines. And you can see that it's very common for them to take loans to pay either for the down payment on the machine or for their installments, their repayments to the dealer, or for repairs. And you can see that the average loan size is quite substantial. It's around 2 lakh taka or more. And some of the interest rates quite high, particularly for repairs. The average interest rate on loans for repairs is 31%. And you can see that's linked to the source of the loans. So the most common source of loans for all of these types of uses is from informal sources. So 73% of the loans for repairs coming from informal sources. And you can see very low utilization of bank loans. So 9% of the loans taken for down payments are from banks, and only 3% of the loans for paying installments or repairs. So this is quite an important point to consider. If we look in more detail at the characteristics of combine harvester service provision, you can see that borrow season is the most important season. Virtually everyone is operating in borrow. About 2/3 of the MSPs also operating in Amon season. And if we look at the total days of operation over the course of a year, it's 58 days. So this is quite a small window of time in which these operators have to make all of their money for the year. And you can see that during the season when they were operating, there were 12 days on average each year when they were unable to operate. So that's quite a large share of the available days that they were not able to work on. And sort of the most common reasons cited for being unable to operate is lack of access to spare parts or inability to find a mechanic. we see that on average over the course of a year, the combine service providers cover about 200 acres and also around 200 customers. And so the average customer having an area of about 1 acre. We see the rates charged vary a bit from season to season, but around 4,700 taka per acre overall. And finally, we see that around half of the MSPs are providing services outside of their district. So it's important to them that they have to travel around to provide these services. If we look at the revenue and costs, without going into the details of all of these figures, you can see that the operational gross margin, so this is the revenue for the year minus the operating costs for the year is around 50%, so that's quite healthy. That doesn't take into account, however, the cost of the repayments on the machine. So we estimated how long would it take to pay off these machines at the 70% subsidy level and the 50% subsidy level. And then we extrapolated in the orange bars to sort of hypothetical lower levels of subsidy. And so you can see for people who received 70% subsidy, it takes around 31 months. So that's about 2.5 years to pay off the machine in full. At 50% subsidy, it's 42 months, so around 3.5 years to pay off the machine in full. And lower levels of subsidy correspondingly longer periods of time. So that suggests that maybe some level of subsidy is necessary to make this a sort of sufficiently attractive sort of option. So we've touched on this briefly already in a previous presentation. We were able to look at the import prices for individual machines from the National Board of Revenue's records on import data, and then compare those to the sales prices or the purchase prices reported by our respondents. And then from that we can derive the average markup. So you can see most brands have markups of somewhere between 30 and 40%. But there's one particular brand that has an extremely high markup, 147%. So it appears in this case importing very cheap machines, but availing a large subsidy and then sort of being able to use that to their own advantage. So this is one of the more negative effects of the program. In this slide, we're just briefly comparing the characteristics of combine harvesters, service providers with some of the other types of machinery. So you can see here we have tractors, power tillers, power threshers, maize shellers, power tiller operated seeders, and then combines. If we look at that average year in which these were first purchased, you can sort of see the sequence of mechanization. So power tillers earliest, on average 2017, then threshers, then maize shellers, then tractors, and then we have the combine harvesters and power tiller operated seeders coming in at the end, 21, 22, and these are part of the subsidy scheme. So you can see virtually all of the combines and power tiller operated seeders being purchased with a subsidy, whereas almost none of the tractors and power tillers received any subsidy, and the threshers and shellers somewhere in the middle, around 20% of those being subsidized. And you can see, obviously, the smaller machines are a lot cheaper than the tractors and the combine harvesters, and most of those small machines are being purchased outright in cash, whereas the combines and the tractors mostly being paid for in installments, and so therefore requiring credit. And then finally, the last two lines are comparing the respondents' reported satisfaction with the after-sales service that they received. So you can see for tractors, for instance, 78% were satisfied or very satisfied with the after-sales service, and only 11% of respondents were dissatisfied. For combine harvesters, 48% of respondents were satisfied and 41% were dissatisfied. So there might be a couple of reasons for that. I mean, it's easier to fix tractors. There may be more mechanics available to do that. But it might also imply that perhaps under these subsidy schemes, some of the suppliers might have a lower incentive to provide those kind of services to the customers versus the non-subsidized machines. Okay, so moving now to the policy recommendations. We've been all over some of these already, so I don't want to repeat too much, but a really critical one is that there is a 26% import tariff on agricultural machinery that's imported to Bangladesh. If that tariff were removed, then that would bring down the cost of machines substantially without having to spend money on a subsidy program. We've seen that the subsidy program really has had a number of beneficial effects. It's accelerated the adoption of these machines. There are impacts on productivity, profitability, labor savings. So that's really positive, but we think there could be even bigger benefits, even better returns to investment by organizing any future subsidies in a different way. So maybe making the allocation more market-driven, so reducing geographical targeting, not having a pre-selection process for the subsidy recipients, sort of making it on a first-come, first-served basis. Or if we do want to target geographically, then doing so based on some kind of data-driven metrics, and also standardizing subsidy rates across the country so that certain areas are not oversupplied or undersupplied. We've seen that there's a big gap in terms of formal financing, bank financing for MSPs. These are profitable businesses. Typically, the people operating them have land, they have collateral in terms of the machines that they own, but for whatever reason, those financial services are not available to help them access these machines. So there's real scope for dedicated funds to support machinery purchases on a hire purchase basis, and with credit organized such that it aligns with harvest cycles so that the MSPs can pay off these loans at the end of each harvest season. There are restrictions on transfer of ownership, as we've heard. There are also restrictions on the movement of machines. Those could be eliminated to make things work more efficiently. There's also lots of scope to establish skills training programs, perhaps through for DAE engineers to support development of technical skills for the machine operators themselves, for mechanics also. Digitizing the subsidy application process could help to make it more transparent. And then finally, there's scope to conduct periodic census of machinery to understand how many machines there are where, and use that information to help inform future policy design. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Belton. Now it is time for us to hear the Chief Guest's remarks. I would like to welcome Honorable Secretary of Agriculture, Dr. Mohammad Emdadullah Mia, for his remarks on today's proceedings.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected Chair, distinguished colleagues on the dais, and representatives from various government, development partners, agencies, private sectors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good morning to you all. I'm sorry because because running after some time limit, because I have another meeting, need to join at 12. So that's why I'm in front of you at this point. But I love to be with you and to have the whole session together. But unfortunately, with my prior commitment, couldn't make it. Anyway, I would like to thank you first, in particular the CGIR, IFPRI, and CIMIT for their invaluable contribution and such wonderful presentations. I appreciate all the presenters and for their valuable insights and whatever they found with their research, and also I would rather say it's, good endeavors. As we have heard and learned and see, so that the combined harvesters is a, what should I say, talk of the mechanization nowadays, in particular with the last projects which have been implemented from our Ministry of Agriculture through DAE. I humbly observed that just all the presentations and the research was based on combined harvesters. My understanding is for agriculture mechanization, harvesters is a part of the process. So I need to be started from tractors to seedling and irrigation and so on, and then the harvesting. See, if you don't have those prior conditionalities or the environment proper, then what would be the end benefit we'll get from the harvesters? So my request to all my colleagues, in particular to IFPRI and CIMIT, as they have done a wonderful research on harvesters, to some extent, a little bit compared with others for, adjusting or get the recommendations for harvesters. We would like to request you from the government, please go for a second research, which is not only harvesters, as we said, combined harvesters, there is already. So what would be the other need and demand for the country? Because if we only concentrated our mind with all the harvesters, and most of the investment is needed for those combined harvesters. Our second presenters rightly mentioned that there are some positive correlations between the employment transformation from agriculture to other sectors in China and in India. And for Bangladesh, it's more like migration for overseas. So my humble observation and what should I say, queries is, like, how would actually think that just like only these harvesters, this is an academic session, so with respects and regards to all, I'm just sharing. So how we will come to a conclusion that just for these harvesters or only this mechanization was the only cause for those migration for us. This is one aspect. If we look it into critically, then it's a positive correlation with China and India. So we all know that the socioeconomic context and industrialization processes on those two said countries are totally different compared to ours. So if we go with mechanization the way they did, and if we expect that our migration will be the same without creating a congenial atmosphere or favorable industrialization for those transformation, and also the laborers, those will be moving from agriculture to other industries. Unfortunately, we don't have that environment yet. So if we go directly and jump with the mechanization the way they did, probably, we should consider or think that how best to actually would do that, because our investment may cause or what should I say the right word, may lead some sort of other socioeconomic issues. There are some entrepreneurs or good people, those have money, and they can replace the many labors with mechanizations, which is quite good. But we also need to consider as government who will be ultimate sufferer and how to address those people. And is there any government initiatives out there, or how we will actually address, and there will be a positive effect from those people, those are going to be unemployed due to this intervention. So these are the kind of paradoxical situation we need to think and consider. Otherwise, if we just go with only mechanization, our socioeconomic and sociopolitical as well as geographical context may not, or we probably will not give the proper justice for that. Saying that, I have some observations. Say, for example, as we are saying, combined harvesters. It's good. With one go, we can get many things. So what I personally believe and think, we probably would go up that level so that this economy will rolling, and the farmers, those who are get involved with harvesting, I mean cutting the plants, or and also then bring those into the field, and then need to harvesting by their own manually, and also they need to separate those things from rice or any other products to the rest of the birds, and then need to bring those into the market, and also need to get money back from their investment, and then come back for next whatever initiative they want to go with that particular land. So there are some times which is kind of common. So if we can shift those parts for that mechanization, and then provide our farmers or the people those are engaged with the farming, so they will go back directly to the field and do the rest of the things. So that part may be mechanized right at the moment. In that way, we'll get some extra momentum, and the farmers will be able to invest their time and effort in a more productive way. So that need to be assessed, and we need to consider those things. This is one aspect. I'm just blindly thinking. Second thing is, as we talk about harvesters, we know our land and geographical context, and also the the topography of our land, size of the land, roots and other stuffs. We have power, and many things, so we can't actually go directly with those big size of harvesters everywhere. This is another aspect. So there were some suggestions that so we need to have a proper survey. So I personally believe that that should be the first thing we need to do. Here I was also expecting that why this kind of effort actually didn't work properly. We know that these are the issues, those are affected, this kind of extra money get, and also the harvesters or the machinery, those are supposed to be here, it is absent. Some manipulations are there, corruptions are there. I totally agree with all of this. But we need to figure out or to find it out that what was the root cause of that particular issues. My understanding is we are not actually well prepared to go with these projects. Before starting or before jump into this project, we would probably go with detailed survey and also use intensive feasibility study. And if you could do that, probably this would not happen. This is my personal belief, and I strongly believe in that. As we all said, need harvesters. Well, if I ask, that's why I was asking just like what was the time frame when they actually did that research. It was back in December to February, right? This and last years. So with that time, if we could know, but we are trying to understand that, how many harvesters, if you concentrate with that, are where now, and what was the status? Because a good number of harvesters are now, not working, unfortunately. They are now kind of living somewhere here and there, and the village young people, students, young people, they are just like play with that machines now, which is most unfortunate. The price and cost of one harvesters is like 27 to 40 lakhs taka. And subsidy, as you already know, that is 50 to 70%. And I also know that with due regards to our business community, the people, those are engaged, including my people, they make an arrangement. And I know, and I believe, and I have that proof as well, that the actual price, as he said, 114%, right? Or sometimes. Meaning that 70% subsidy was the less than, with their profit, the actual price of that machineries. And rest of that, they are just getting money as an installment, kind of কুমিরের এক বাচ্চা দিয়ে সাত বাচ্চার মতো করে বানানো. So this is very sad and unfortunate. So I'm just, stunned, and I'm thinking just whom I should give this blame. So it's a vicious cycle. And all the people are involved in there, unfortunately. And that's the, I was just sharing my colleague with that. I was, I'm going with that, but a corporate governance. So I'll just share one second maybe. In my master's program in Australia, it's kind of an international business program. So I took two subjects. One was governance, another is business governance. So before that, I didn't actually aware that governance means many governments. My understanding was like governance means government machineries governance, which is quite common, and our perception is like that, at least for me. So then I came to know and learn that government governance is one part of the governance, and the corporate governance is the most governance part of the world economy, and the world should be run properly. And also the non-government organizations governance. So if we have any of those three governance is weakened, probably the total economy will not properly. So my belief is like that those three actually work together here, almost, at least two. So if we should not go with all the detail of that and go in depth of that, then probably we will not get the solution or whatever we are expecting from this kind of seminar or workshops. So what we are planning for, we are thinking that definitely mechanization is a means for our agriculture development and transformation of our agriculture, but we want to go with very cautious steps. Some of you may disagree with me. I would love to hear, and unfortunately I don't have enough time for that. But definitely I love to invite you, or if any of you, please guide me and suggest me, because I am a non-technical person. But whatever thinking coming to us, that's the way we are trying to develop our plan and policies. So it's your responsibility to correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, it may create some adverse effect in the society as well. So please, as I'm inviting you all to assist me or correct me or suggest me whatever best you think appropriate for you. You probably, many of you are aware that we from the ministry side are planning to develop a 25 years long-term strategic plan, meaning naming Transformation of Bangladesh Agriculture Outlook 2050. So we are planning for a 25 years long-term strategic plan. It's a living document, it's not firm anything, but we want to develop a frame, and based on that frame, we want to go with all the aspects of the agriculture sector development. Total transformation. Definitely, mechanization is one very important sector in it. So what we are thinking, we now would like to consider that, do we really need all the combined harvester all over the country right at the moment next year? Or the Howrah areas or the cyclone-prone or the risk-prone areas need to be covered first, so that in one go they can get all these products and country can be benefited for that, with subsidies again. If someone is willing to do his business anywhere, they can do, they have liberty. Everybody are now actually looking after the government subsidy. So government definitely will invest, but it should be the proper investment. So I need to trade it off if we do something else. So the opportunities cost or the other incentives, whatever we are giving, which one is priority for the government as a whole, for the overall development of the agriculture sector? That we need to consider. And we want to do those things first. We want to prioritize that, and then want to bring all these things together, and as I said, 25 years long-term planning, but first 5 years plan will be the main focus, and then immediate within the 10 years, that would be our projections, and after 10, we are not going with anything detailed. But we have a long-term visions that, what is that, as I said earlier in different places, that we want to ensure safe and nutritious food security for both human and non-human consumptions. And also we want to include the present and future industry need and demand in agriculture sector. So we should have a projection as we are planning for industrialization in agro-based industrialization. So that's very important for us as well. So previously, probably there are discussion, but that not, concisely anything. We usually go for or trying to ensure the food security, not safe and nutritious food security for human consumptions. But definitely, non-human consumption is a very important aspect for us, because without that, we can't actually meet the need and demand of the agriculture sector together. And also the growing need and also the existing need of the agriculture industry sectors. So how we want to do that? We really want to ensure or create an environment which is a farmers-friendly agroeconomy. So we want to develop an agroeconomy which is farmers-friendly agroeconomy through processing and agro-industrialization. And we believe and firmly believe that Bangladesh economy need to be developed through agroeconomic development. There are no other options, I personally think, will be able to assist the country to fly its economy. So we must use this agriculture sector as a runway of the economic development of the country. So that's our notion, and we want to go with that. So another aspect, I would request IFPRI and CIMIT, if for their next research, if they kindly provide us, I have some suggestions as well. First of all, other than harvesters, what are the other mechanizations process and what are the positions of that? And is there any specific suggestions for that? This is one. Second is, here one thing probably not addressed that much. There are scope for further research and also recommendations. We have some our own mechanization engineering development, meaning BRI has their research, and they were successful to develop a locally assembled and also some rearrangement with their ideas and thoughts, and they're developing that harvesters and also many others machineries. And BRI, even and other research institutes are also trying to do that. This is one aspect. And there are some private sectors. They're really doing tremendously good. So they're also investing money and doing business with the hope that they will get the market. So we want to know and also ensure that those are getting the right balance attentions. Otherwise, maybe those investments and initiatives will not see the broad daylights, and they will be in troubles. So What I would like to request IFPRI and CIMIT or any other researchers, if they're interested to go with that, to assist us with that research, that how potentials we do have with our domestic capacities, whatever it is, private or public sectors. And is there any specific intervention or recommendations needed and government assistance needed for those development? If it is so, which way could do that? This is one, my request to them. Second is, which kind of machineries, in which areas we should give priority for interventions, particularly for the government interventions. This is second aspect. I met one gentleman, he was sharing his ideas that he's going to develop a huge agri-machinery plant in Trishal or Baluk, I forgot the exact name. And he was planning to invest a huge amount of money for that, with the hope that his machineries will be the huge concentration in Bangladesh agriculture sector. Then I asked him some specific questions. As a business student, I said, do you have any calculations or any assessment that how many harvesters and what type of machineries are there all over the country? Which kind of machineries you are planning to develop and make? So, say for example, I'm just sharing, if we covered all the country, 24 districts, with almost 500 upajalas, with harvesters, whatever real needed amount of machineries, then what would be the replacement demand? It would be probably 10 to 20% maximum, I think. So if there are so many investments and importers will import their products from different places, then what's going to happen to those businesses? So I can see and visualize that those industry will be at one point very soon, within a couple of years, maybe will be in a big loss, probably. So we need to consider all these things before jumping to it one huge investment. The reason I'm sharing, that's what we usually do. We have some ideas and we think that will be replicable or applicable in our country, the way we have seen it outer world. Unfortunately, that's not the real life scenario. We have some good ideas, but definitely we need to ensure our real life situation and consider that what would be the best options for all of us. If we don't do that, the failure of this project is kind of a big, what should I say, alarm has given to us. Shouting is big shouting for all of us. Elion, right? I've forgot one company for their misgovernance. They were just like fall into ekdom. So that was a history of the big corporate governments abruptly failure in their business. So this, I personally took this project as a lesson learned for us. It's not only for government, it's for all the communities, including the business people and the international organizations and development partners. Probably IFPRI and CIMIT can refer this, or any other organization refer it in any other countries, that if we go with this and this, probably this will not work properly. And also I humbly request that you consider the country perspective, because if we compare with China mechanization with Bangladesh, that probably is not a proper justice for us, because we are not actually ready for transformation as well as the employment opportunities the way they did. So, and we also need to have our projections and how far we would probably go with that 5 years or so. So thinking and assuming many good things is really good. It's a good feel, but reality is different. So we want to be within the reality and also to have a big dream and also potentials which we need to explore together. I don't want to go with all the detail because I must rush for my next program. So my request is to you all, I appreciate the contribution you have done so far. Thank you. Of course, it's a very good base for all of us. And as I requested you, if you please could pursue further with those ideas, or even you can add some more, whatever best you think appropriate for us. This is another aspect. And to share with you that with this unplanned way of doing things, there are some innocent, if not innocent, maybe they are not actually ready to do all these bad things or being part of that process. But they now become the end sufferer. Some of my colleagues, just to share with you that these findings we have seen in so many medias and many places, you know. But this is the what it called, the research is more focused, but they have their own way of doing things and make it public. So just to share with you, more than, I forgot the exact number, probably more than 25 of my officers, those are the Upazila agriculture officers, they are now under suspension for these particular projects. And the PD and others and a big number of peoples, they are now, we sent the whole documents to the anti-corruption commissions, and they are now inquiring those things. And we also wanted to know who were the real root cause for that. And so because, you know, if there is a cyclone come, all the mosque and pedagogues will be also affected, right, unfortunately. So these are the reality. Some of my colleagues I know, they are, I talked to them, I met them, but I'm undone. They are actually ultimately the sufferer of those things. They were not ready to do that, but the way it happened, they could not even, escape themselves from that. So these are the harsh realities. So I really feel sad and bad for my colleagues, but if it is, documented and the way it should be, if it is not there, so we have very limited options for go with in favor of them. But still, I think we want to see them, those are really not directly involved, but situationally affected. We may consider, but again, they need to be suffered. So this is the reality, and I don't want any of my colleagues will be the victim of this kind of project anymore. And the business people, those who did that, they are also need to be aware and also be alert that they will not be escaped doing this kind of malpractices anymore. So that's our commitment from the minister's side. And we all request you to please come forward with this, and humbly request you to come up with some suggestions and guidelines, whatever best you think appropriate. But I can commit that the reason I'm here today, I really interested to be mechanized my country's agriculture sector. Again, I want to think then how best you can actually go with this whole process. What would be the priority, how best you can make it, and what would be the priority, and what would be the areas we need to go first. And again, we need to consider the fate of our agriculture engaged laborers. If they are affected, then how and at what level we can save their work and other stuff. And just to share with you that this mechanization project, it was planned to close last year, but we extended it for 1 year. But it has more than almost 600 plus crore taka was unutilized. There were, my colleagues were interested to spend that money for further mechanization, but we stopped it. We said no, with this project we will not go with anymore. We will develop a second project, third projects, whatever, and based on all this feasibility study and also the detailed research, and we'll identify that which area, which people are most deserving and how to do that, and which company or which kind of combined machineries is really needed, and which one will be the more effective and benefited for our farmers. So considering all these things, we'll develop another mechanization projects, and then we'll go with all the details and based on our, as I said, 25 years long-term strategic plan. So saying that, I must stop here today. I'm I apologize if if I hurt any of you with my comments and whatever reaction I did. But I really appreciate all of you's efforts and look forward to get some concise or precise suggestions and policy recommendations so that we can consider those things together. My colleague, Additional Secretary Dr. Mahmoud is here, so he will be staying with you and hope he will be able to bring some more ideas and thoughts what he'll get from here. And also I look forward for your specific recommendation. And all the experts and the seniors and colleagues from different places, those that are here today, I hope that with your engagement and your sharing your thoughts and also the recommendations or suggestions, whatever, that will also help us a lot. So saying that, I wish you all the best, and I wish the rest of the time of the workshops will be going to success. And Allah Hafiz, best of luck. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your thoughtful speech. Now we will have a 5-minute short health break. You can also have tea or coffee if you'd like at the back of the meeting room. We'll start the proceedings again soon.
ছিল না
এখন একদম ঠিক আছে, প্রথম আধা ঘন্টা
হ্যাঁ স্যার হ্যাঁ একটা যদি ছাড়া দূরই দিয়েছে
ওইটা নামাই দেন দিন পোডিয়ামটা খারাপ দেওয়া যাবে কেবলটা খুলে দেন
ওই এক্সট্রা কেবল তো ওইটা
হ্যাঁ কেবলটা মাঝখান দিয়ে কেমন দেওয়া যায়
ওই সময় এটা সেট করার জন্য লাগাইছিল খুলে দেন লাগবে না
হ্যাঁ তো হইলো আরেক চালাক বুঝছেন ভাই হ্যার মোডিয়াম লইয়া লাগাই দাম
Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to kindly take your seats? We will start the next session shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request you to kindly take your seats? We will start our session soon. At this point of the hour, I would like to invite Dr. Wais Kobir, consultant CIMIT and former executive chairman of BARC to the dais. Also, I would like to invite Dr. Tim Krupnik, CGR country convener and CIMIT representative for Bangladesh. Mr. Owen Calvert, project leader, Sustainable Agri-Food Systems, CIMIT. Dr. Mohammad Ruhul Amin Talukdar, senior policy advisor at IFPRI. Dr. Mohammad Mahmudur Rahman, additional secretary, Ministry of Agriculture. And Dr. Mugdham Azab, acting country representative of IFPRI, to the stage.
Okay, that's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, kindly take your respective seats. We are starting the session now. Being respectful of time, and we are approaching the lunch hour, we'll have to be very mindful of our schedule. First of all, I would like to invite Dr. Wise Kobi to share his expert remarks on the presentations that was given during the morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I am told to be brief while talking because lunch time is approaching. So I'll try to be short as much as possible. First of all, thank you, IFPRI and CIMIT, for giving me space in this very important meeting on mechanization. And of course, there is a reason for combined harvester being the focal issue of the discussion this morning because of its precision, because it's capital intensive, and also because we do not have adequate managerial capacity to handle the combined harvester machine for our small marginal dominated farmers. Considering that, combined harvester is a new entry into our production landscape. As a result, it needs more attention while we are going through with this mechanization program. I had an opportunity to see the IMED report on this project, more particularly amounting 3,000 crore taka, which actually said what our secretary was saying. The project had least homework, planning, and at the same time, we didn't have adequate capacity to manage this large project, which is highly technical. For that matter, it is quite justified that we talked about combined harvester focused discussion, though the project has many other elements in agri-machineries, which we bypassed. For example, the purpose of subsidy in agricultural mechanization, as we see in our neighboring countries like India and Pakistan, they have number of schemes. They are supported through subsidy programs just to make awareness among the farming community. For that matter, possibly, you know, the project, as the secretary was saying, I also go with him, that this project is a good learning for us to develop our future strategy in expansion of the mechanization program in this country. Though with limited know-how, limited mechanic service in the country, we started this program with a lot of flaws that revealed later on. Possibly we know the Bangladeshi farmers are basically machine shy during our early days of 1970, and mechanized cultivation scheme of Bangladesh Agriculture Development Corporation introduced these imported machines in this country. And it lasted until 1988, when it stopped after a huge flood. For that matter, our mechanic service or mechanic all over the country, they were displaced. But later on, what I could see, that CIMIT Bangladesh had its program on Sesame Mia program, which tried to develop capacity of this country with foundry shop, engineering workshop to develop the mechanic. But still, I'll say this is much less compared to what we need in this country. So considering that, we need to focus further on mechanic service or skill mechanic in this country to run the show in our future agriculture development. Our research organizations continued developing the machines of any type, more particularly locally available machines, and these are very much available still with the farmers. So, of course, I remember regional network for agricultural machineries, which bought a lot of prototype in this country, which actually helped our capacity in our research institutions, including the local manufacturers, to really support the mechanization program in this country. As a result of lack of mechanic service, we see 37% of our cost goes with repair service, which works only for 58 days. So these are something that we need to consider while we develop our future programs. This project was implemented, as Secretary was saying, during the time we have less or least governance structure in this country, more particularly in the government governance. We need to remember that. And based on the media reporting, the IMED actually had their program on intensive monitoring of this project. And it says clearly the flaws, deficiencies, and bottlenecks. One thing, very important thing they mentioned in their report, that the engineers should be in the driving seat of this project, including the project director. But the implementing agency never put any engineers into the project operation. When I talk to the agriculture engineers in the district level, they are very much unaware about the project performance. This is the policy question in future, that who should be the one in operation, planning, monitoring, should be led by biosystem engineers, which we call it today. This is the game for engineers to play, accompanied by the agriculture officials at the Upazila level, which was very much missing. The dissection of IFPRI and dissection of IMED, these are more or less same. The secretary was saying that why we didn't consider other than combined harvester. Of course, there were many other components, many other machines under this project. But these are least occupied in the farmer's field. Why? Because I think 70% subsidy, capital-intensive machines, these are few areas that made the program little bit distorted while implementation due to poor governance. That we need to consider while we develop our future strategy. And also, the DPP mentioned categorically of this project that the project is meant to develop the entrepreneurs at the rural level. But what we see in the presentation, that mostly large, medium farmers mostly occupy the machines, more particularly combined harvester. But there were dryers, there were planters, there were potato diggers. These are least sold. I understand the reason behind that. This is basically a business, as Secretary hinted, that a vicious circle actually try to capture the total project of this kind. It started in 2005 until 2024. So these are something that we need to consider. To be brief again, I further want to talk about synchronized agriculture. It also proved to be failed. But there should not be any reason why it failed. Because we have to mobilize materials like seed, fertilizer, and other material support. Can't we really motivate the community for synchronized farming so that our machines are adequately operate in 100 acres of land with same variety, same date of sowing, same date of harvesting, so that our efficiency level goes high with this. We have now better local manufacturing. Our local manufacturers are better capacity. But considering that, possibly, you know, Bangladesh is known as best reverse engineering country, be it in Dhulaikal, be it in Bogra. But you possibly saw in the presentation how much we spent spare parts, how much the owners pay for the spare parts during the peak operation time. And that is the opportunist time for the traders, for the operators to charge maximum to the farmers. So still there is a lack of governance in this country. So I think we need to consider all those. Our local manufacturers even export our machine to East India, eastern part of India. So we have the capacity, but the fiscal management doesn't support our local manufacturers really to stand better off. For that matter, we need to consider the tariff environment of imported versus local. I understand there is a question of scale of economy, of machines, imported versus local. But we must have advantage of some machines which has local advantage. We have better advantage over imported one. Saiful of Bri, he has already developed a combined harvester, and it is proven to be good. It is proven to be in service in muddy water or in dry land. Why not we develop some business model in a win-win situation by the institution and by the private sector? So we need to be innovative in carrying over this kind of machines to the farmer's field or in the business. It's not combined harvester alone of Bri. There are many other similar type of things that, again, lastly, I will stop now. Lastly, testing and standardization. It's not a team sitting together and sitting the machines, how these are operating in the field. It must have logistic, it must have skill. In Budni in India, I saw how is their testing bed. Simulation by different environment, so that how each machine operates. We have recently developed a standardization committee. I feel like to have better logistic support, skill, so that our imported machine and local machine are tested. Because I personally remember during 80s, in Sherebangla Nagar, we had a testing lab. Each and every pump and machine imported in this country or locally manufactured, these are all tested before it goes to farmers. So we need to consider all those, and also this project of Department of Agricultural Extension was meant to develop local level entrepreneurship. Like in India, in West Bengal, they have a agricultural machinery bank. It's not financial bank. They used to get all kind of machines for serving the community. And the support to this bank or the what do you call it, custom hiring centers, they are given maximum privilege so that this self-employment is created and at the same time we have better environment. With this, I took a little longer time, right? So I had something more in my mind, but I believe I could cover most of the points that I intended to share. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kobir, for sharing your valuable opinions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be having a stakeholder feedback session. I'd like to invite Dr. Owen Calvert, Project Leader, Sustainable Agri-Food Systems Program, CIMIT, to provide the synthesis for the session.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be sharing the podium with Dr. Rahman. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Rahman, distinguished guests. And I'd just like to say family, because when I walked in here this morning, it did feel like family when I came in. And I'd like to just start that with a brief introduction of one of our MSPs that have been involved in the CSAMIA project, Mr. Bosco from Ferretipur. If you could stand up, please. One of our MSPs has a combine harvester, and within 5 minutes of meeting Bosco, I also realized that our representative from VPKI, our microfinance organization, actually lent the money to our MSP to fund that combine harvester. Not only that, sitting at the table, we had Aberdeen, and he purchased a Kubota combine harvester. And the other connection I realized was he got his spare parts from our guest from GSM in Kustia, spare parts being provided. So just within the space of 5 or 10 minutes, I made that connection. And I think that's just an indication of this whole process that has to be so intertwined. But it was very nice to do that. I have the task of summarizing, and I'm not sure how I got it, but when we were designing this program, we wanted to have some sort of breakout sessions where stakeholders could be involved. And I suggested, maybe foolishly, maybe we could do the breakout sessions before the event, and someone could then present the findings. My colleagues somehow came to the conclusion that I was volunteering to do that. So you're stuck with me for the next 15 or 20 minutes to try to summarize what is probably about 20 perspectives from different stakeholders. And I'll start the first one with the machinery companies. Then we had representatives from ACI, Alim, the Metal, Aberdeen and Uttaran all contribute to this on a one-on-one basis, not necessarily coming to a concurrence and agreement on all issues, but this is what we came up with in terms of our findings. Moving beyond subsidy dependency, private sector actors emphasise that subsidies should be a short-term catalyst. A sustainable mechanisation ecosystem requires a market-driven environment where machinery sales and services respond to real demand, especially for combine harvesters and rice transplanters. Reducing fiscal barriers to enable competitive pricing. Private companies recommended removing all duties, and we heard that earlier this morning, taxes and VAT on agricultural machinery and spare parts over the next decade. This will lower retail prices, expand customer reach and strengthen the private investment, promoting local manufacturing of spare parts and machines. Number 3, ensure fair and open market access. Private suppliers call for a transparent, non-restrictive market that encourages competition, innovation, and broader dealer networks. Avoid policies that limit participation of qualified private sector actors, particularly the small businesses. Strengthen quality standards and protect the market integrity. Industry actors request robust pre-import quality checks to prevent substandard machinery which damages both farmer confidence and reputable brands. Standardization will support after-sales service and long-term market growth. It will also safeguard farmers' investments and preserve market trust for reliable brands. This is both for machines and spare parts, I'll add. What's the next one? I'm a bit out of order. Improve access to financial machinery buyers, access to finance, and we've heard this and we'll hear it again, the need for agro-machinery companies access to low interest retail financing tailored to farmers and service providers. There's also mention of the registration with BRTA for key manufacturing, which would enable combine harvesters and rice transplanters to access bank loans and use it as collateral to reduce market irregularities, boosting transparency. And lastly, targeted subsidy for high-value machinery, and this is contradicting a little bit what was put in point number 1, but reintroduce a 50% subsidies on combine harvesters, accelerate adoption by small marginal farmers to foster national mechanization. Next one. Sorry, my pointer. We're going to move into access to finance. And for here, we had submissions or contributions from Lightcastle, GUC, CDC, VPKA, and SUS. Launch affordable mechanization loans. Introduce low-interest, flexible loan tenure products for machinery service providers, local manufacturers, and dealers to accelerate mechanization adoption. Enable wholesale financing for MFIs and NGOs, providing affordable wholesale capital to extend lower-cost loans to agri-machinery actors, improving outreach and financial inclusion. Thirdly, streamline regulatory and policy frameworks, simplifying loan approvals. I think we heard that coming from Ben this morning. Interest rate caps and collateral requirements to enhance flexibility, access, and ease of compliance for financing mechanization. Number 4, strengthen financial and business capacity. Offer training on credit management, business planning, and financial literacy to boost loan readiness, repayment performance, and sustainability of agribusinesses. Number 5, implement interest support mechanisms. Adopt targeted interest buy-downs or subsidy schemes to reduce effective borrowing costs for machinery buyers and service providers. Number 6, mobilize concessional and blended finance. Facilitate access to concessional, blended, or low-cost finance to enable banks and NBFIs to provide affordable mechanization loans at scale. Number 7, there's a lot from the finance, isn't there? Integrate digital and innovative financing mechanisms, leverage fintech, mobile platforms, hire purchase schemes combined with government-backed guarantees to increase efficiency and reach in rural areas. Number 8, promote inclusive engagement and access. Boost financial literacy, mobile-based solutions, and customer-centric products while reforming collateral rules and formalizing informal lending to ensure gender equitable access. And lastly, number 9, foster sustainable finance practices. Deploy climate risk financing, impact investment, and structured public-private collaborations to support resilient and sustainable mechanization. We're moving on to the last and final sector, which is our machinery service providers. This, as I say, pre-great breakout group was conducted in Joshua and Whariapō, facilitated by CIMIT, and involved 10 MSPs and their feedback, noting that they had access to the recommendations of the report prior to this session where they discussed what was appropriate for them. Ensure affordable and reliable spare parts. Expand nationwide dealerships. Promote local quality manufacturing and increase competition so MSPs receive timely and reasonably priced spare parts. Number 2, strengthen after-sales service and support. Require machinery companies to provide round-the-clock service during peak seasons, extended warranty coverage, and trained local mechanics as company-approved service agents to reduce downtime. Number 3, improved market transparency and quality insurance. Revise subsidy mechanisms and enforce strict machinery quality standards and ensure companies provide hands-on training on machine use and maintenance. So improving equity, transparency, and allocation of loans, etc. Number 4, established a centralized MSP support system. Launch a unified complaint and service response platform, hotline, mobile app, etc., for MSPs to report issues, track service requests, and receive timely technical assistance. And lastly, expand affordable access to finance, so that's a common theme throughout all 3 sectors. Introduce low interest financing, such as 4%, and flexible loan terms to help MSPs purchase machinery and scale mechanization services successfully. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a very brief summary of quite a lot of discussion from those 3. I hope I've been able to succinctly and accurately convey those thoughts, but I was done so and to try to do it in a very time-efficient manner. I was thinking of having a discussion session on this, but I think I'll defer in the interest of time, and the next session is going to be moderated for an open discussion. So thank you for listening. And also thank you for those who contributed.
Thank you, Mr. Calvert. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for open discussion. During this time, the floor will be open to everyone to share their thoughts. This session will be moderated by Dr. Mohammad Ruhul Amin Talukdar, Senior Policy Advisor, IFPRI. We look forward to a productive discussion. Sir, 15 minutes.
Dhanyavad. Well, I feel very privileged to be here because I served as a member of the technical committee in the beginning and also after my retirement as a member of the research team. Well, we have enjoyed 3 presentations from our IFPRI colleagues and 1 remarks from the chief guest, remarks from the discussant, and also we also heard about the stakeholder perspectives on the research and its findings in particular, and on the mechanization aspect as a whole. So now it is your turn. We have 20 minutes to interact. So let us be very brief. Just introduce yourself and put your question or comment or feedback on the research, its methodology, its findings, and its policy implications. And lastly, what the chief guest has said, how this research and your deliberations can contribute to the formulation of the next phase of the project. So the floor is yours. Kindly introduce yourself and put your questions and remarks very briefly. We have 20 minutes. Professor Manjur, please.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. This is Manjurul Alam, retired professor at Bangladesh Agriculture University. Now I am working for IFPRI. It is good that the 3 presentations, especially I like to thank the CIMIT and IFPRI collaboration, especially for presenting these things and in detail and in-depth study. So there is a scarcity of actually mechanization and machine-related database in Bangladesh. So it is a very good actually attempt to actually develop such database, really important. What I'd like to talk about that you have mentioned the machinery service provisions there. As when we are talking about sustainability of agricultural mechanization in Bangladesh context, there is a very important area that is machinery service models that is there. And you already mentioned that 83% of the machinery and the subsidies goes to the actually large farmers. So it is a big question there. So as you know, there is a model, 3 models are actually working. We call this seasonal service provider who are very small micro entrepreneur who are having 1 or 2 machines. Already you mentioned that 2.4 machines on an average this local service provider have. So they are the seasonally providing the services to the farmers. But in the last 10 years research that we have found that single shed service provision, that means from this micro entrepreneurship, they are owning almost all the machines the farmers needed into a single shed. So, and they are providing the services to the farmers. Dr. Kabir actually mentioned the synchronized farming. You are right that the DAE actually project, when it is gone, so there is nothing in the field. But these single shed service providers, they are taking that particular area and providing services to the farmers. So they are actually selecting the varieties, crop varieties in case of rice 1 or 2, and then they're producing the seedlings, including the planting, actually tilling, planting, irrigation, and up to the harvesting. So it is being done in that way. There is another thing is that is a, the group farmers model. FAO Bangladesh, they have developed an MMI project. So a good actually graduation model of the farmers and who are actually providing the service to the farmers group as well as the others. So these 3 actually models, these are simultaneously working. We need to look at that, and all the subsidies and other incentives must be directed to those areas so that they can actually sustain the actual agricultural mechanization. I will just complete it in one thing. I appreciate that this database is being actually generated, but the other thing is the technologies are evolving. Even the combine harvesters having the sensors. Even, these irrigation actually appliances, who are this either AWD or actually the sprinkler irrigation or the drip irrigation. If we are already, some of these piloting are using the sensors and IoT of this thing. So new technologies are coming. So I will request, actually, Tim Krupnik is here, and he is actually always looking forward. And when Calvert is there, so look at these areas where new innovations, new machines, and new things that will be coming in next 5 to 10 years' time all over Bangladesh. So I like to request you to just generate some of these insights of that area. That will help us. Thank you very much.
So two issues you have raised. One is on the comparative efficacy of the MSP models and the evolving technology issues, mostly. Thank you.
So, Assalamu alaikum. I am Yasir from ACI Motors. From the survey, I found a data from where they are showing customer satisfaction after sales service. For tractor, they are showing 78%. We ACI Motors sell actually more than 60% of tractor currently, on an average per year 4,000. And from our customer satisfaction index, we found that it is more than 85% or 89% like this. So this is not the issue. I'm just telling this, this satisfaction data is too high because of we are selling tractor from last 1 decade, so 10 years or 12 years like this. And we established all over the country, not we, all other companies also, they established spare parts service center, skilled technician and all other things from last 5 and 10 years. At the same time, harvester satisfaction is only 48% because of common harvester selling start from last 5 years. And currently, we are also developed our technicians, service engineers, and all over the country's spare parts supports. But suddenly, the project stop, selling stop, or if everything stop, then this process may be hampered totally. Because we cannot bear our staff, we cannot bear our service center, sales center, spare parts. This is a system, whole system. You cannot develop this within suddenly. Within 1 year, within 2 years, cannot develop. That's why the new companies cannot survive. Maybe they can sell, but they cannot survive. They cannot get good response from the field. Even currently, they have no
I think-
subsidy, but we are selling. Maybe Kubota also selling, World also selling, because customer have demand, we have demand. But now is the sale quantity suddenly decreased, so our whole system actually stopped. So I think government should think about this, how to continue this, maybe lower basis, but
Thank
need
you.
to continue.
We got your point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Rajak.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to thank the three speakers for their very nice presentation and some output that we have seen. But let me share some of my thought that how mechanization has started in Bangladesh. If we look at the scenario, then we will see that first of all, the irrigation has started. Irrigation mechanization has started. Then power spray came, sprayer came, then power tiller came, then lastly possibly the harvester. This is the scenario. So there exist some facilities already within many areas of the country. If you look, there are custom hiring system in many places for tractor hiring, for those are existed. But if you look at the whole country, then there are differences in the availability of the irrigation machine, irrigation pump, then your power tiller, then there is really needed to survey the whole country, the present status of the tools that are available in each district or upazila. That's very basic to have a good distribution system. That's why I will suggest that a mapping has to be made immediately to understand the total perspective of the what exists and what we really need to provide. This is number one. Number two is the local manufacturers. Local manufacturing machines are always better suited than the imported machine because they have really conducted some survey and they know the demand of the country. That's why it has to be really given the more important priority for the local country. And number three is all the essential elements are there in those studies. But what I have not seen that what is the status of the distributed machine in the field that has not been reflected in the study. Because the big type harvester or combined harvester, it requires a space to park. But is there any space of those to parking those or garage them? There is a garage facilities to protect the machine that is really lacking in the, that is what I have observed. It is very important. Without having the garage to protect the machine, how I am really providing the machine to a farmer? Then it will create a junk within. Number four, what is I would like to suggest that the machinery has to be classified into production machineries. Those are really related to production machineries, how it requires. Then we have to classify post-production machineries, the thresher machine and all those things. Then processing machineries. So this type of three classification has to be made and made the assessment for the whole country. This is in short, because time is very short, I would like to stop here.
Thank you very much. I think on your question of having a garage or not, I think that was the question in the research. I remember.
Thank you.
So
may I permission? May I get permission to say?
Professor Kajol.
Question. Okay. Myself, Professor Dr. Mizanul Haq Kajol, Shere Bangla Krishi Vishwavidyalay. university. So, okay, I would like to, at the very beginning, I would like to thanks to the presenters, very informative, nice presentation to bring to us the results. So, whatever the things, I want to know very briefly in case of the our DID analysis. In case, you know very well, we have seen in our result, we are utilizing the combined harvester 39 days for Boro and 19 days and for almond and 19 days for house. And on an average, 59 days out of 365 days, we are using the combined harvester for 59 days in a year. So whenever you are go through the impact study, so is there any uses of the combined other than harvesting? So only 59 days we are utilizing in case of the lot of money invest in this case, but in a year we are using only the 59 days that machinery. So how we can accommodate in this analysis? And whenever you are looking about the crop diversification, income and employment, how accommodate that? What were the assumption behind that one for in this analysis? So many things, if we don't clear about that on assumptions and how utilizing, then it may be create a lot of question in that case. So I would like to request to researchers, please clarify to us and other than things. Okay, so many things we have discussed about that things and you know very well how the mechanized. So now we can think about you are using MSP, mechanical service provider. So rather than that, how we can think about the local service provider in case of the each and Upazila administrative under the agriculture DA. So all the machineries through the apps based, all the machineries we can provide the service to the local service provider. So so suppose to Rajak sir, he raised the question, the garage or, so many things are there. So how we can provide the easily, rather than the subsidy, so it may be entrepreneurship development.
Yeah,
it may
I think we got your points.
Yeah, how can we can do most efficiently, effectively, and sustainable management. Thank you.
Thank you. The next, someone from this, yeah, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Dr. Akram Abdullah Alamin. I work for Bangladesh Agriculture University as an associate professor. I'm an agri-tech economist. I have a query to Mukto Bhai about the treatment issue, first of all, because a farmer who have a combine harvester giving service to, for example, Dinaspur, so, okay, he is in the treatment, but after cultivating his land, he may provide services to Rajshahi. So how this treatment heterogeneity came here, because these are not one size fits all. Regarding combine, actually, we are giving more weight on subsidy. Yeah, I do agree as a developing country, we need subsidy. But actually, we are missing some issues because when we are talking about machines, we are talking about production economics, we are talking about farm management. So when it's subsidy, it's not the percentage, that 50 or 70, it's the impact on basic economics, how it impacts on the economies of size, how it impacts on the economies of scope. Let's make it clear. When we talk about subsidy regarding economies of size, it's not that making combine available to all districts, because we have to take care of the economies of size. Only if I own from Kumilla, so I think that I have a combine giving subsidies to Kumilla, so I will not be able to achieve economies of size because I need to extend my acreage of coverage. If you look at the world, for instance, Iowa farmers own a combine, he gave to Michigan, he goes to Kansas, Ohio. It's the business he's doing here. When we are talking about subsidy, we have another scientific errors, that is combine for particular use. The technology is very ready worldwide. We can use multi-use combine. For instance, one single combine could harvest, for instance, pre-monsoon rice, like the Aush rice. That same combine could harvest monsoon season almond rice and winter season Boro rice. But we are thinking only rice. But this subsidy could similarly harvest wheat in the winter, could similarly harvest lentil, mustard, even for maize as well. because it's not mechatronic engineering, it's workshop engineering. We only could change the header, then we could achieve the economies of size. The world is doing this. So the idea is that it's not not all about bureaucracy or administrative fault, it's all about scientific errors as well. So when we are talking about this, devising policy, devising subsidy is important. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. So one question was on the methodology, the other on the multiple use of combined harvester. I have only 3-4 minutes in my hand according to the organizers. So please.
Hello. Thank you for giving me opportunities. I am Amir Hussain, CEO, Abidin Equipment Limited. We are representing Kubota, combined Kubota product in Bangladesh. My question is actually we have experienced this subsidy process, and now everyone know that how expert we are to delivering a transparent subsidy to the end user. So that's why I think we should came out from subsidy process. We should introduce easy access to finance for the farmers. I think now this technology already introduced and people's well aware about that how the combined harvester, rice transplanter is helping the farming process. So I believe if Ministry of Finance and Agriculture Ministry and Bangladesh Bank should make a policy for exclusive products for the farmers, financial products for the farmers, definitely that should be user-friendly, and as it is seasonal revenue for the farmers, I think we should focus on that.
I think we have got your point.
Thank you.
You emphasized on access to finance to the farmers. So many hands in front of me, but you can understand the limitation. I can take, we have 2 directors generals with us, Director General Biri and Bari. Definitely we will ask their comments. But before that, two quick comments. You and you.
Thank you very much, sir. This is Mizanur Rahman from Meta. I would like to thank Meet.
Please
I saw
put your question
presentation,
or comments.
But one of the scenario they have mentioned the price, import price, and markup for the companies. So I think so. My humble request to you and the concern of IFPRI and CIMIT. So those price, I think so. Maybe.
You agree or disagree? Or
I'm not agree. I'm not agree.
You don't
because
agree.
They have mentioned that the markup is 3747, 40%, 27%. So this is not right. And
you can talk with the researcher.
Yeah.
Even during the lunch.
Yeah. This is one. And one which my friend said that the combined harvester can uses for not only for rice, can uses for maize and wheat also. We Metal, we are providing combined harvester, both not only for rice, both for wheat and maize.
Thank you. We
third,
have got your point.
Third, sir, my humble request to you. We Metal are last 36 years in the mechanization areas. We are working right from 92, 93. So now the major concern is access to finance. Access to finance may come from who is my colleague, CEO Abidin, said that the bank and other financial institutions, if they may not come to, the farmers level loan or so, then it is very difficult for the company, because till today we are investing money from company to the borrowers to the farmers.
Yes. I
so
think that is a recommendation also from the research.
And number 4, sir, number 4 is that you know very well that last 4 or 5 years when farmers used combined harvester, about 3.5 to 4% yield increased. This is one. And second one, the grain loss manually, which was 12 to 14%, and by using combined harvester, grain loss 1% on 1.5%.
Thank you.
So my humble request that the Boro season is coming. So mainly 80-85% combined harvester being used in the Boro season. So that if government or policy level, as Secretary Sir said that 600 crore and more are in the subsidy. So if that subsidy may come in Boro season, then it could be better. Thank you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Director AIS. Then coming to both of you.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Mohammad Mashur Rahman, Director, Agriculture Information Service. I would like to focus on the medium and marginal and other farmers. Actually, from the presentation, we saw that most of the machineries, combined harvester, got the big farmers. So when our respected advisor went to our area in harvesting Boro season, he verified that the rented price of the subsidized and non-subsidized machines are same. So how, if the rent price is same, how the small farmers will be benefited financially? So my request is in our next project, next phase, there should be a provision that the subsidized machine should be rented in less price. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very quick and good response. You understand the limitation of our times. I also understand that you have many questions in your mind, comments and feedback. You can talk with the IFPRI researchers during the lunch. Even after that, we are very open to you. We have two DGs with us. One is Director General of IFPRI and Director General of Bari. I think if you could put some of your responses very quickly, very briefly.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. Actually, we learned a lot from today's discussion. Lots of gaps, and we identified, and that's also we know there's sort of gaps between the researchers they find out, and also we know this gap. And actually, the way in fact, the main things actually, the Bangladesh mechanization part, actually two parts, transplanting and harvesting. Is, if I said the rice, in case of rice, we are almost not certain. We need to emphasize those things, the transplanting and harvesting. We are almost at the stage that most of these things are harvesting by the common harvester, especially the Boro season. Also is some sort of almond season. But we need to develop some sort of machines that's for tillage, also some intercultural operation. Tillage is also okay. All our maximum tillage is done by the machines, but need the transplant, intercultural operation, also the transplanting, that's also need interpretation. And other issue, actually, the machine we develop, Biri also developed, Bari also developed, other company also they are developing. It's not, it's some kind of modification. And that's need to be develop a business model through the partnership, private-public partnership. That's the way we can make our country mechanization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DZ. So over to you.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Actually, I am not an engineer, or I don't have much experience in machines. But as in Bari, we have developed several machines, and we have collaboration with our private manufacturers for manufacturing spare parts as well as the whole machine. I think they're making. But one thing I was thinking that if you think of most of the talk was about the combine harvester, and that relates to rice cultivation. But there are other crops as well. So we need to think about mechanization in those areas as well. And another thing I was thinking that a combine harvester, its command area is large. Maybe it can serve several villages. So during the peak time, if it breaks down, what happens? So I think it's a big question that then what, because the farmers don't have cows or like small scale machines anymore. So whatever it is like cultivation or harvesting, so we should have some kind of backup plan for what happens in case of emergency. So whether it is good to go with a bigger machine or several small machines, we need to think about that as well. And another thing is, you know, that the land type and the land holding, it's smaller, everything is small. So whether we should go for small machines as well. And another thing, okay, we can make combine harvesters. Actually, we are not making it. We are copying it. So if we can we start copying lots of those machines, then there will be a question of IPR and patent issues, and those big companies will come. So I think it would be better to have some kind of agreement with those manufacturers, original manufacturers, and then start making it here with joint collaboration. Even we can talk with Kubota or Myanmar or whatever that is, and whether they are agreeing to manufacture it is in Bangladesh with our local manufacturers. I think that would be the way to go. Otherwise, I think we cannot just copy their machine and mass produce those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DZ. I think this is the last comment in the open discussion session. There are few questions as well on the methodology and also on some of the limitations in the research. I don't know whether we have time to respond on that, but I stop here, and to the master of the ceremony, please.
Thank you everyone for your active participation. Special thanks to Dr. Talukdar for moderating this session. It is my honor to welcome our special guest for today, Dr. Mohammad Mahmudur Rahman, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, to deliver the concluding remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected guests and dear participants, Assalamu alaikum. It's a difficult time since the lunch time has started, and nobody will be interested to hear something that is bitter. If I need to talk about the mechanization process and especially the outcome of the last project that is still under implementation. The thing is that I would start from the very beginning, because the problem is with the evidence-based planning. That was we were referring to during our technical advisory meeting. That the project itself was conceived without, although there was some feasibility study probably. I didn't have the chance to see the feasibility study, but the project was probably conceived without any feasibility study. So it was a mess for that reason, because during the implementation, the approach was that, like, you give subsidy to farmers, whatever the percentage is, 50 or 70, and that will promote mechanization. That was the ultimate vision, that for promotion of mechanization, so subsidy is the only factor that could promote. Yes, definitely, subsidy will definitely promote mechanization in a developing country like Bangladesh, but that is not the ultimate solution. That one of our CEO of probably Abedin, he was referring to that the proposition that it's not the subsidy only. Access to finance is also an issue. And that has also created some problems during the implementation. Like some company, I don't know exactly who are the companies, what are the companies that made profit that is like 141%. That means if the price of a combined harvester is 10 taka, they have sold it at 20 taka. That means if the subsidy is 70%, that means so some money has been drained out. some way. And the ultimate users or end users of those combined harvesters didn't receive the right benefits. The intended benefits needed to go to the farmers, but that has not gone to the farmers. That has gone to the corporates. So that was not the ultimate target for a mechanization project. So the problem starts with planning. And then there was some policies for distribution. The whole process was somehow misconceived or misaligned with the social norms and values. Our secretary has referred to a vicious circle. So in this case, the circle has been created not by the government service holders or the government people. The circle has been created it starts with definitely with the farmers, then government officials and private entities, those who are engaged in selling those machineries. So how could we then protect or ensure governance when the society is engaged in such a vicious circle? So it is always difficult to address the challenge of poor governance. So, but the issue is that if we could have a proper planning at the beginning and we have right distribution policies, the situation would not happen. So we have seen that the ghost distribution was also there. So it happened because of the absence of right distribution policies, and also because of nexus between the stakeholders engaged in this business, engaged in this distribution process, engaged in the system. So we have got some lessons from this project, as our secretary Sarah was telling, that it's a lessons, it's a project that has given us some lessons for our next phase maybe, or for our next course of actions. But that is at the cost of thousands crore taka. It's not a matter of joke. The public money has been spent and we have got some lessons. So that is the ultimate output or outcome of the project. That should not have been the situation. And someone was, in your presentation, it was told that the less capacity, we did have less capacity to implement that project. I don't think that we didn't have, we have capacity to implement that project. It's not that technical project. We are just providing subsidy, distributing the machineries. You are not engaged with the technical issues of a machine. So it doesn't matter whether you engage someone from agri-engineers or from a political scientist, or for someone coming from agriculture background. It's about the distribution process and how efficiently you distribute and how efficiently you can ensure the governance in distribution and also subsidy management issues. So I feel that the system itself was not efficient, and that has created the whole problem. So we are discussing about the next project or the way forward for mechanization. So government is definitely encouraging or promoting mechanization since we have shortage of labor. Although the study showed that there's wages. Maybe the self-employed laborers engaged more compared to the wage laborers. But what we have found, is my personal opinion, is that during the harvesting season in our areas, you will see that people from North Bengal, they were coming to actually cut the rice or the paddy. But now once you introduced combined harvester, they are not coming. So what it created, they are now staying in the North Bengal area, or they are moving to Dhaka for their livelihood. But if they stay in the northern areas, that means that then now there is no shortage of labor, since they are not migrated to our areas. And that probably has actually had some impact on the wages in northern areas. And now, since in our areas people are using combined harvesters, so the demand of manual labor has also decreased. So the wages should not have gone up. Maybe it could be one of the reasons that actually impacted. We want to, what our Secretary Sir was saying, that we are now actually developing a long-term plan, and that has that will have definitely some plan for mechanization, because there is no alternative at this moment to go for mechanization. So we will definitely promote mechanization, but the ways and means to promote mechanization, that could be definitely examined further, because the way that we have been distributing or we are promoting mechanization through only subsidies, that could not be the only option. Since the system itself were proved that was quite wrong, the approach that we have taken before, or not only through this project, but there are other provisions in other projects of Ministry of Agriculture. So we need to rethink the whole approach, and this study will definitely help us in articulating the future course of action. So we are also studying the whole mechanization process. FAO has also engaged. There are some experts in actually studying the whole mechanization process, and they will also be suggesting us the future course of action in promoting mechanization. So we also now want to promote the local manufacturing industry. So that is also in our priority, and we have specifically told the projects that the local manufactured machineries will receive priority compared to the imported machineries. And that has to be ensured by our project directors or project people. But at the same time, I think the local manufacturers also need to be vigilant, whether they are receiving priority or not. So we cannot monitor each of the procurement items. It's not possible from the ministry. But if there is any discrepancies or something deviation at project level, I think our local manufacturers can inform us, and we have now probably the better communication with our local industries, I think, than any time before. So we request our local manufacturer, the industries, to actually come up with their problems and help us to pursue the other ministries. We even pursue the NBR, the National Board of Revenue, and other ministries to actually reduce that import tariff or duties and provide other incentives. So the issue of access to finance for farmers to promote mechanization, it is also a key to us now. So we'll definitely think, we are thinking of creating a fund or a pool of budget that could promote the farmers' access to finance, because we know that a huge amount of money is being distributed through different banks and other financial institutions. But the amount of loan or credit and also the purpose for having access to those credit programs is not well defined, and to some extent it's not farmers friendly. So now we are negotiating with Bangladesh Bank so that the agriculture credit programs becomes beneficial to farmers. And we at the Ministry of Agriculture, we are now thinking of creating a fund that could be used for helping farmers like during any crop damage, or providing the interest gaps, because in some cases the interest is quite high. So farmers are not interested to receive agricultural loans from banks or institutional lenders because of higher interest rates. So we are thinking of providing the support to farmers so that they can have credits at a lower interest rate. So we can subsidize the interest rates so that the loans becomes accessible to farmers. So what I have found that the study will definitely help us in articulating the next phases of mechanization. If we find that the project is necessary to promote mechanization, we need to examine the whole process and also the necessity of promoting agricultural mechanization through subsidy or other programs. So that needs to be examined, and at this moment we are not promoting any project that will not accrue the integrated benefits to farmers. So we are now even examining the existing all the projects that are under implementation, and we are revising to bring the synergies among the projects, among the agency implementation or agency activities, so that the farmers receive more benefits. So in respect to mechanization, I can tell you that we are strictly reviewing the whole system, and based on the recommendation of experts like you, and also we will be having another study report, and we have already received that. We are now reviewing that. So based on these reports, so our future course of action on mechanization will definitely be prepared or developed. So it could be, yes, we can provide more subsidies, or we may not promote through subsidy. We are not, the ministry is not at this moment ready to actually comment, because we need to understand or examine the whole scenario for promoting mechanization. And it was told that we have 10,000 combine harvesters who are distributed. So whether the country needs more or not, so whether our areas need more combine harvester or not, that has to be examined before providing further support to our areas. And what are the contexts that our Rajak sir was telling, what is we need to have a better mapping. What is the status of the demand of combine harvester and other machineries at this moment in the country, and whether we go for market oriented programs, or whether we need to provide subsidies for promoting those machineries at farmers level, whether we should go for machine service providers, or someone was referring to local service providers who will provide services not only for machinery repair or other maintenance service, but they will also provide other agricultural services. So we are actually working on all these issues, and definitely we are thinking that we'll be having the plan, the strategic plan in a month or two. So, and that will, in that plan, we will see that the whole process and the future course of action will be outlined, considering all the issues, including the governance issues. And as our secretary sir has told, that some actions have already been taken against the people, against the officials who have actually committed such heinous crime, I should say, because it's the public money they have used wrongly, or they have taken away some from that funds. And some our private sector is also need to be scrutinized. We have sent the proposals, all the information to the Anti-Corruption Commission, and definitely nobody will be spared because of those who have actually committed such a crime. So at the same time, we want to also ensure the people, those who are good at business, those who do business perfectly and without any I should say negativities that could actually impact the social benefits. So we will be definitely working with them, and we hope that the whole mechanization process will see definitely see a different shape, and definitely it will see I should say not sea change, but river change you will see in the whole approach, and hopefully that will be available hopefully by December, inshallah. So I once again thank the IFPRI for inviting us to this occasion. Although we have received the report before, and we know the outcomes. The similar outcomes have also come out from we have also some investigations, and that we have already, some officials have already been suspended due to some irregularities in distribution of subsidies. And so we have also sent, that I have just told you, that we have also sent all the files to the Anti-Corruption Commission so that they can also take necessary action against those people who have actually who are engaged in such irregularities. And at this moment, although we have unspent around 500 crore taka that were intended to actually be distributed to different for subsidies on different machineries, and also for other purposes, but we have suspended that money because we don't want to create further irregularities. So we will now find out ways and means so that we can have a better approach in future, and that could ensure the governance at mechanization process as well as in subsidy distribution process. So I once again thank IFPRI for inviting us and also give the opportunity to talk before you. So hopefully we'll work together along with other development partners, and also with our private sector, and hopefully we'll be able to build a Sonar Bangla definitely with the assistance of all the stakeholders, including private sector and other people. So thank you so much, and I have taken so much time probably. So there is time for lunch. So I wish the IFPRI would come up with more studies, and also CIMIT will also be helping us in shaping our future policies. So I once again thank everyone, and for our participants for your patient hearing. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman. At this point of the hour, I welcome Dr. Tim Krupnik, CGI Country Convener and CIMIT Representative for Bangladesh, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, and assalamu alaikum. Distinguished colleagues on the dais and in the audience, specifically our colleagues from BARC, BARI, BIRI, the Ministry of Agriculture, DAE, colleagues also from CIMIT and from IFPRI, thank you for your time and your attendance in this important event. Bangladesh remains on a trajectory in which agricultural systems are changing. And I've watched this over the years in Bangladesh the way at which we are moving towards more intensive agricultural systems, the more competition that there is for labor, the more that the country develops economically, and how that begins to draw challenges in agricultural systems that in many cases can be assisted by smart mechanization options. With the release of the report and the feedback that we've had today, I think it's important to reflect on a few things. The first one, mechanization in an appropriate, scale-appropriate form remains very important for the future trajectory of Bangladesh. Second, while there are definitely challenges that we have discussed very openly and very candidly with respect to how the subsidy programs were deployed, the effect generally of mechanization in the agricultural economy remains an important one and a fundamental one. It also not only benefits things at a farmer level, but increasingly at a business-to-business level, and as spare parts development and manufacturing develop it becomes an engine of potential industrial growth within the country, which remains important as Bangladesh continues to mature. So while we've talked about a lot of the challenges, I want to see us end also on a slightly positive note where we reflect upon those important aspects. But another thing is absolutely clear from the discussions that we've had today, which is the role and importance of solid research evidence, good feasibility studies, good foresight studies, and looking into well-designed projects using scientific data and scientific evidence. And I think this is what Dr. Rahman's comments in particular leaned in towards, is the importance of assuring that that information can be used to design policy actions and activities, not only in the past, but looking towards the future to ensure that we can do better than we have already. And that's an important point that I'd like to take forward as a challenge for CIMMYT, for my colleagues from IFPRI, and as you see, the event today has also been co-sponsored by the CGIAR Policy Innovations Program and the Scaling for Impact Program, which help to support that approach. It's not enough if we do studies and write reports and publish papers. What we must do is sit with our colleagues in country to design the next phase and the next vision of agricultural mechanization policy in Bangladesh, and we need to take up that challenge. So let's hope that this workshop is actually a strong way that we start to do that moving into the future. I also would like to take just a few seconds to briefly make a small personal note, if I may, and I recognize I'm the only thing standing between you and your lunch right now. But I also want, because many of you are my colleagues in the audience that I've known for many years, I want to take just a moment to announce a short transition that I am personally undergoing. Some of you are aware, but not everyone is aware, and I apologize if I get a little emotional when I say this, but I'm stepping aside as country representative for CIMMYT Bangladesh right now, and I'm very pleased that I'm stepping into a role, a global role as director for the CGIAR Scaling for Impact program, where I'm going to be working not only in Asia, but I'll be working also in Africa and Latin America, and I will be working to support not only the work of CIMMYT, but of all of the CGIAR centers in Bangladesh. That includes IFPRI, World Fish, IFPRI, and the International Potato Center. And I'm very excited to do this because I actually believe that our strengths of working through interdisciplinary science and ensuring that science is placed on a pathway to impact is how we can make the best results from the research and science that we do as a team from a multidisciplinary standpoint. So I'm moving into that role, and CIMMYT will soon be announcing, I think, a quite qualified, very good country representative who will take my place and who will have my full support. Another small aspect, if I may say as well, and ami ektu Bangla bolte chai, Bangladesh amar desh, Bangladesh amar desh, Bangladesh amar desh. Although I'm transitioning to a new role and I will be working globally, I'm very happy to say that I will remain in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is my home. It's been my place of residence for 15 years. I have very deep connections with many of you, and I'm very happy to continue those relationships in a new capacity as we move forward. So with that, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your active participation throughout the day. May I now request everyone to please join us for lunch, which has been served at the back of the auditorium. Thank you.